I am making a display shelf for a pipe collection. A single pipe can cost as much as my nice dovetail saw, and sometimes a lot more than that. I try something new with the mortise and tenons that you've got to see, so let's get in it. I'm making this one out of cherry, and I plan out each cut with tape measure, making sure that each section is going to be wide enough and just generally work for what I need it for. Part of the reason I built my bench with a high cross rail is so that I could store a saw bench or some sawhorses underneath the bench. I still haven't gotten around to making one of those, so for now I'm still clamping these super long boards just right in the vise, like I've always done. In a lot of my videos I still try to do at least one of the rips by hand, but I didn't do that today. I was already melting in the garage and took full advantage of my table saw. With the boards all cut to width and thickness, I go ahead and plane off the machine marks. Next, I square up the ends on the shooting board, matching up any lengths that need to be matched. Next, I start laying out the dados on the two side pieces, and I carry over that knife nick to the front of the board because I'll need that transferred later. At first, only one side of the dado is going to have a knife line, the other side will start with just a pencil line. These dados are going to be stopped, they don't go all the way through, so I mark where they stop with the marking gauge. Then I make sure I don't knife past that gauge line. And after one side of the dado is marked with a knife line, I take a chisel and start working it down. I do 3 passes with the chisel. The first one's pretty light, the second one's still kind of light, and the third is medium. I'm not going too heavy because this is only going to be about 1/8 of an inch deep. And it's the second pass right here. Third pass. After doing 3 passes down one of the dado walls, I butt the side or the shelf up against it and mark a knife nick, and that gives me the second side of the dado. And before taking a router plane to bring these dados down to depth, I take a chisel and just kind of reinforce that front stopped edge so that I don't accidentally blow past it. Once all the dados are matched to the same depth, I take a chisel and just clean up the front stopped edge. And then I carry the layout lines to the front of the board because I'm going to lay out the mortise and tenons. There's 20 mortise and tenons on this project. This was fun.
I lay out the twin mortises and the space in between the twin mortises with the chisel. I then gauge a line centered between the two sets of twin mortise and tenons. Check this out. Marking that little diamond on the inside face was a little tricky. I don't have a flat marking knife, so what I came up with was just utilizing the flat face of the sharp pencil. Even the old heavy mortise chisels need to be sharp. And actually mine was pretty sharp, but it did have some edge fractures right at the tip, which does happen, especially since I don't use a secondary bevel, which would raise the angle a little bit and make the edge a little bit more durable. I go halfway from the inside, then flipped around and finish from the face. And I gotta admit, it was about right here where I thought, hey, I'll just leave this little recess and just trim up a little faux tenon to sit in that diamond. But I figured, hey, if I'm gonna do it, going balls to the wall. The initial idea was for the tenons to protrude by 1/8 of an inch, so I set my gauge to the thickness of the side piece, which I changed my mind later for 2 reasons you'll see in a little bit. And guys, check this out. This is the first time I've ever hit this on the first try. Listen. Bam. So naturally I had to try again and get it on video. How many tries did that second shot take? Well, let's just say this video could have been out about a month ago. I've always used a bench hook, but I made this one a couple months ago with the helper support board, and let me tell you guys, it's really useful, not just for sawing, but for chopping and just random other stuff too. And as I was fitting these tenons and mortises together, there was a lot of marking and taking apart and paring down and trying again, and a lot more than I usually do, but for this one I think it was definitely worth it. I mentioned earlier that there was two reasons why I decided not to have these protruding the through tenons. First reason is that as I was assembling this, it just looked better when it was flush compared to when they're sticking through. The second reason I think you'll see on this board is I walloped some of those protruding tenons pretty good. I think it's that far twin tenon, and I would really have to do some filing work to get that looking right. You can also see here that I keep the shelves a little bit over width. I plane that down at the end, but I don't have any footage of it. I take the middle shelves and trim them up so that they fit just between the baselines of the longer tenon shelves. After that I start shaping. The top of the side piece is going to have just a simple curve, and the bottom of the side piece has like an S-shaped sort of curve. It's pretty cool. After getting all the curves cut, I trim them all up, smooth them out with a spoke shave. For the glue up, I basically put one side together, then I tapped on the other side piece, then took a clamp and squeezed down each joint line. Checked her square by measuring the diagonal. It was just a little bit off, so I took a clamp on the long diagonal, squeezed it just slightly to bring that into square. And then I'm going to trim off the tenons and plane them up. Went with tried and true varnish oil here. The thing about this finish, well, a couple things about this finish. One is that after about an hour of it being on there, you have to really thoroughly wipe off everything for it to cure well. The other thing is that it's mostly about the surface prep. The wood needs to be almost burnished, especially on the end grain. You can do it with either some plane shavings or with like 320 grit sandpaper. And probably the only benefit of a super hot garage is that it helps the finish cure much faster. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, drop a comment. I really do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.